Good morning, everyone. We'd just like to get it moving. I'm Wilma Finlay, and David behind me. So we're from this farm, from Rainton Farm, known as the Ethical Dairy, also known as Cream of Galloway. And I'd just like to do just a few of the housekeeping stuff. But basically, the loos are there, and they are now working. That's the good news. The visitor centre, which is just straight down past the car park on the right, has many, many more loos. So when it gets to lunchtime and the likes, there's many more that we can spread out over. This has been an amazing event for us in organising and even in its inception, in as much as we never, ever, ever thought of it. And there's someone who will be hiding here who always hides. Yes, she is. She's there. Lorna Young has helped us with marketing for years, and we did a crowdfunding last autumn, and we got to the stage where we were getting very near our target, and Lorna said, you've got to set a stretch target, and we said, okay, what do we do? And she said, you run a conference. So we either blame or thank Lorna, depending on how things are going. But we've also got collaborators to thank, so we did it with the help of 3 other farms, all of whom you will meet and hear today. So there's Wilma Farm, and you'll hear Denise is one of the first speakers. There's Whitmuir Farm, and Pete will be here at the end of the day to help summarise what's happening. And Bryce, and for those that know Bryce Cunningham from Mosqueo, he will appear, do his talk fantastically, and then disappear, because we're all busy, but my goodness, he takes the biscuit. And it's been such a great experience, and it feels sometimes a bit like Desert Island Discs, where you get to choose your favourite speakers, and then you're asked to get it down to 5, and we really struggled at that bit. So that's our problem, and that's our excuse for why there are so many speakers on here today. And we're just looking forward to it so much. There's just one thing that I always say when I'm sitting in your seat as a delegate, and the person that's organised the conference starts with an apology, I always think, that's a mistake, don't start with apology. But my apology is, although I ordered this marquee with the instruction to give us a blacked out marquee, it didn't happen. So this morning, David and the fantastic staff in the farm were putting black silage bags over the top of the marquee, so that there's a hope that you see the slides. But we hope it works, but that could be the one thing that lets us down today, but I know our speakers won't. So I'm just going to pass you over to David, who's going to just give a little bit of background to the farm and what we're doing here, and then we pass on to the Mairi Gougeon, the minister, to officially open us.
Good morning, welcome to Rainton. I wrote this last night and haven't had a minute to look at it, so forgive me. This has been the home, the Finlay family have been here since the early 30s. We came here as incomers from the neighbouring parish of Borg, and we're just about seen as local now. Rainton's also home for our diversified businesses of Cream of Galloway, which is basically the fun side of the business, ice cream and adventure playgrounds. And then there's what we've just started recently in the last couple of years called Finlay's Farm, which is the cheese-making enterprise. And the brand name of that side of the business is the Ethical Dairy, which has raised a few eyebrows, to say the least. And to make matters worse, we're also participating in the making of raw milk cheese. So, yeah, thank you. We're certainly courting controversy. When Wilma first came down to Rainton, she was sitting next to a local worthy who said to her, you ken, they Finlays, they were aye different. So she was warned. But what they didn't know was Wilma Dunbar is one of the same. So we made quite a good team, I reckon. Right. So we've been organic farmers for the past 20 years now, and it's been a learning journey. And many times over that journey, we've considered giving up because it's been pretty tough. And for the first 10 years, really, we were flailing around. We weren't doing very well. We were losing money more often than not. But we hung into it because it was giving us an opportunity to market our organic ice cream. And we did so throughout the UK at that time, from Brighton to Shetland, and it was just incredible. In fact, it even went further afield for a while, down to South Korea. I almost said north, which would be very bizarre. But South Korea is bizarre enough. So I'm so pleased that we stuck it out, because what has happened over the next 5 years, 6 years after the first 10 years was that the soils, the crops, the stock, the management, the combination of all these started to gel, and we started to claw back the production losses that we'd suffered in the early years of being organic, and to the point now where we're actually carrying as much stock as we were 20 years ago, but we're not applying 100 tons of soluble fertilizers, thousands of liters of pesticides onto the land and the animals, and into the food system and the environment that really is the basis of. Here comes the star of the show with her stick. Sorry, the dog. This should be just at the critical point of the talk. So you know, and what we've learned is that we can produce the food. It's not easy. We can avoid having to use all that stuff that is actually causing so many issues with our industry at the moment, in terms of environment and welfare. And it begs the question of why are we using these? Anyway, I'll leave you to think about that one. Anyway, that brings us to the point of the conference, really. It's really to start the discussion, to start the debate in Scotland about how we go forward with our farming system and our food system. Because from my perspective and our perspective here, we now know that it can be done. We can produce food well, efficiently, effectively, and profitably, and ecologically. The cow with calf system that we've developed on the farm here has been the icing on the cake for us. It's a challenge. It hasn't worked initially, but over the years, we're now into our third year, it is beginning to pay us back. So we are looking to make a profit from it this year, which is absolutely crucial because we're not a charity. We can't run this on for nothing. And those people who have lent us money to carry out the project want it back. So it's quite important. Anyway, we've got a super lineup of speakers today who will give us their experiences, their data on what they see as being ethical, the results of ethical farming, and what they've seen and what they've measured, and it's really there to give us a basis for the conversation to go forward and build on the event today. So I hope you all have a great day. See you later.
So I'd now like to hand over to Mairi Gougeon, MSP and Minister for Rural Affairs and the Environment. I hope I've got that right, the natural environment. Welcome, Mairi.
Well, thank you so much for having me along today. And that's quite a lot of pressure about this super lineup of speakers you've got and the desert island discs of speakers, but I don't know if I would have made that list. But thank you so much for having me here. And thanks to Wilma and David, who are the SIVA Farmers of the Year, and the 3 other co-hosting farms for their invite to address the conference today and to raise awareness of ethical and sustainable food production. Because, as I'm sure everybody in this room is aware, and I don't need to tell you, we're facing a global climate emergency. And as the Cabinet Secretary for the Environment, Climate Change and Land Reform said during her statement on Tuesday, all sectors have a role to play in addressing the climate emergency, and farming is absolutely no exception to that. And that's why the sustainability of our food production sector really hasn't been any more important than what it is just now. But this is actually my second visit to Wilma and David, and my first one was early in November last year, when I can say I think the weather was somewhat different to what it is today. I think we're about 0 degrees that day. But and I was on a visit here because I was on pretty much a fact-finding tour of the Scottish dairy industry. And I was visiting large and small farms, traditional and organic farms, I would say across the country, but predominantly in the south of Scotland. And it was particularly in relation to animal welfare issues, and particularly around the issue of male dairy calves. And what I found on my tour was that there are a number of challenges which face the dairy industry, and that I wouldn't say there's any single simple solution that could be applied to the whole sector. But I did, when I was on that tour as well, find a lot of positive initiatives currently being used and developed, and particularly in relation to breeding in dairy herds, including, of course, the pioneering work which is taking place here at Rainton in terms of keeping dairy calves with their mothers rather than separating them soon after birth. And I also find a lot of progress to commend in the development of strategies to reduce the number of surplus dairy bull calves. Now, the greater use of sex semen has an important part to play in reducing the number of male dairy calves in conventional herds, though a number of other innovative projects are being developed, which include rearing more male dairy breed calves for beef in Scotland. And I think it's actions like this that really highlight the willingness to improve and strive for a sustainable future that we want and which we absolutely need to achieve, both environmentally and economically going forward. In short, what I found was a dairy industry which is actively working to reduce the number of animals which are transported overseas and to increase the number which are reared for beef here in Scotland. The Scottish Government fully supports that aim because, from our viewpoint, we would wish that slaughter, where possible, would take place as close as possible to the site of production. And we want to continue to engage with the sector and wider interested parties in that work. For example, with a research project that we recently initiated to look at the feasibility of mobile abattoirs in remote areas. Through the Knowledge Transfer and Innovation Fund, we've also helped to support the Fast Breeders project. This project looks at genetic improvement programme across 3 dairy herds, which, if successful, it'll have an impact on the dairy industry, but across the whole livestock sector too. The Scottish Government has a strong record of supporting research on farm animal welfare and other aspects of sustainable agriculture. And I know that you'll be hearing about some of the results of that research today, including some of the innovative work that's been done by SRUC on assessing positive welfare states in farm animals. Public concern about the way farm animals are kept continues to grow, and improving animal welfare standards will be an important part of the ethical acceptability of farming to society in future. Along with that are the major environmental and economic concerns that also need to be resolved if we're to have a truly sustainable farming industry in Scotland. The Scottish Government is proud to offer support to all types of farming. We have the Agri-Environment Climate Scheme, and that's so far awarded £7.6 million to 109 businesses for organic conversion and £8.1 million to 107 businesses for organic maintenance. In total, 251 businesses have benefited to the tune of £15.7 million. And added to that is the £16 million from the predecessor Rural Priority Scheme, which benefited 244 businesses. We've also worked with the Scottish Organic Forum to develop and launch Scotland's second Organic Action Plan. That was in 2016. And we're working with the industry to assess the progress on that and consider whether a new future strategy is needed. Organic farming is a choice that a number of farmers have taken for their businesses, and an increasing number have made that choice since 2015. But when we look at the overall picture, the number of producers is 3/4 of those farming organically in 2009, and the amount of organically farmed land is just over 1/4 of what it was in 2002. The Scottish Government is currently committed to increasing the supply of and increasing the demand for organic food in Scotland, and I hope that that will help to reduce what appears to be a decline in statistical terms. We provide £400,000 on an annual basis to expand the Soil Association's Food for Life programme, and that funding helps to increase the amount of locally sourced and produced food in Scotland's schools, and also putting locally sourced and produced food at the heart of many public supply chains. Now, as I mentioned at the start, we are facing a global climate emergency, and I am keen to stress that as we face that emergency, it's vital now more than ever that farmers and crofters move towards a low carbon and environmentally sustainable future. And I think that's been made more than apparent in recent weeks, particularly with the report that we had last week on the state of our biodiversity too and the challenges that we're facing there. Through the agricultural chapter of our climate change plan, the Scottish Government is working hard to support the industry on that journey. And I'm delighted to say that this year alone, I've been able to announce the establishment of our Young Farmer Climate Change Champions. And I know that Bryce Cunningham is going to be coming along later today. I'd met Bryce at Moss Giel, and it was just an absolutely fascinating visit to his farm there, and to hear about the challenges that he's faced since taking on that business, but also to hear about the really incredible work that he's been doing. And I was also quite glad to pass on the information about how much a pint of his milk sells for in Portobello in Edinburgh. I think he found that quite a surprise. But I think he's doing absolutely fantastic work. And also Lynn and Sandra at Lynn Breckcroft, I had the chance to meet them, and I bumped into Lynn a few weeks ago, and I know that she was sorry that she wasn't going to be able to make it here today. And just to see what they've done by working with the land on the croft that they have near Granton-on-Spey, hearing more about their Little Mountain Meat Club and the egg club that they have, seeing their animals, the pigs, cows and the hens. And yeah, I don't think I've ever really looked at an animal before and really felt so much like I wanted to eat it as the way I felt when I looked at their pigs. I think I'm in a safe enough audience to say that today, I would think. But again, it's just really amazing to see that the work that they're doing on that farm. And I don't know if any of you will have seen This Farming Life as well, where you'll be able to see some of the progress that they've made and some of the work that they've been doing. So, I want to try and get around and meet all the climate change champions. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. But I think what it shows us is this is all about farming in a high quality and farming in a sustainable way, and working with our nature and working with the environment to do that. Now, alongside that, we've also commissioned our first phase of research into the feasibility of a nitrogen target, and just last week, the establishment of our Farming for a Better Climate Soil, Regenerative Soil Agriculture Group 2. Our agricultural industry does have a positive story to tell. I think we're world leaders in quality assurance, and the priority we give to animal welfare in the industry plays an important role as part of the solution that will help us achieve our environmental targets moving forward. And I'm delighted too that through the Regional Food Fund, the Scottish Government has supported this collaborative and forward-looking conference today, and also provided funding to enable 10 young women to attend today's conference too. And I think that these bursaries in themselves are a great innovation, which because it provides not only the opportunity to attend the conference, but I hope that they act as a catalyst for what could potentially be long careers in the industry itself too. I know that many within Scottish farming will be keen to welcome these new faces, and especially with the fresh ideas and impetus that I think they can potentially bring to the whole sector. Now, just to close, I mean, I was asked if I could stay until tomorrow and open Wilma and David's new cheese-making plant, and I am absolutely gutted that I can't be here to do that. And I'm really sorry, and especially because I can't even stay for the rest of today, because we actually have a food and drink debate in the Parliament this afternoon, and relating to Brexit. But I would have loved to been able to do that, but unfortunately I have to head back up the road. But I do think that new plant in itself is also a good example of the assistance that the Scottish Government can offer to farmers through the food processing, marketing and cooperation grant scheme funding. And I really just want to wish David and Wilma all the best in that new venture as it goes forward, and of course look forward to coming back again and hopefully trying some of the cheese. So I really hope that all of you have a fantastic conference today, and if you're staying over tomorrow. But of course I'm happy, because even though I have to head off, I like to get out and about as much as possible, and I want to continue this conversation because we are at such a critical time in relation to climate change and where we need to go with agriculture. So please get in touch and contact me if you want me to come out and visit you, because again, I want us to be able to continue this conversation, and I look forward to hearing about the outcome of today and tomorrow's event. Thank you very much.